The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
This is the Inferno Podcast. It's the official podcast of UAB Athletics. Blazer fans, this is the place every week for an inside look into UAB Athletics. This episode is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Welcome into the Inferno Podcast. Scott Griffin here, Season 3, Episode 3. We're talking football for this episode. A lot going on, even though it's not technically football season. It kind of really is with the transfer portal, different things, roster management, the new buzzword in college football. We'll be talking about that with Alex Mortensen and also one of his new assistants, changing the staff a little bit. Todd Grantham is here, another Nick Saban graduate school member. We'll be talking to him as well. Also, the sports that are going on, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball right around the corner. Some honors being handed out a little bit to some of the men's basketball team as well. Remember that the rundown of all this stuff is brought to you by Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB Athletics. We'll dive into that transfer portal that's so key there. A lot of players coming into the fold for UAB football, a lot of players leaving the program as well. That's just the nature of college football these days. So a lot to digest, a lot to talk about with the new staff additions, with the new coach, and much more. So we'll take a break, come back, and we'll start that process next on the Inferno Podcast. Welcome back to the Inferno Podcast. Scott Griffin here, and it's time for Coach's Corner, brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health. We got two coaches here. It takes two when it's football season and you're signing guys and everything's going on. Of course, head coach Alex Mortensen and the new defensive coordinator Todd Grantham joining us. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
You guys have been lounging around a little bit, just kind of taking it in slow, right?
Yeah, I've been chilling.
Yeah.
So.
Now, kind of describe, first question, the intensity, the activity, the what's going on while the guys are working out and starting on the classes or whatever there doing. What are you guys doing?
Well, you're saying currently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one, I mean, we've kind of wrapped the portal up. Now, we did fight to the final hour on a guy, a guy or two, and we got maybe a story we probably couldn't tell on here, but we kind of fought to the bitter end to get one late. And then, and now, there's still junior college recruiting going on and high school recruiting. So that's kind of where we'll transition to now, currently.
How many holes you got there?
Well,
or offers you can send out, approximately.
I mean, we're under 5. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
We're probably under 5.
So you can be picky a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
I got you.
Yeah.
And you, so new. What has been your role coming in?
Well, when I got here basically 2 weeks ago, it was total chaos from the standpoint of we had to sign quite a few guys.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant, basically get up, you're evaluating guys. Guys come on campus, they get in here, they're going to have breakfast, go through the day. You may have anywhere from 5 to 7 guys. And then as they leave, another group comes in. And you're going to have them in at, say, 6:30 for dinner. They'll be here for roughly 3 hours for dinner, go to bed, and then you start to cycle over again. And then any free time you have, you're evaluating other guys to get them on visits, and then then you got to call these people, and you got to talk to them. You got to talk to parents or whoever about your vision for them and things like that. So it's pretty chaotic, and It filled a lot of time up, but
yeah.
I think we hit it pretty good, and now it turns to developing our team, and then really we'll start that once we get through this 2-week cycle,
right?
With the high school coaching and the JUCO coach or the JUCO recruiting, and start developing our team with the guys that we got.
Okay, we're going to go over the list a little bit. We're not going to go name by name, but we'll pick out some guys. But I don't think I've ever asked you this. and I'll ask you first, and then you can respond. I'm guessing with you guys and what you've done in your background that you do more than video work. When you meet a kid, what are you evaluating? When you see him, when you talk to him, is there any evaluation there?
Well, first off, because a lot of these guys are college guys, right? You can go to PFF, so it is easier to evaluate a player with the PFF system, meaning, hey, I can take a guy and look at his runs. Okay, I can look at how he plays the run. Then when you get to the passing game, I can look if he's a front guy. You know, I can look at sacks, I can look at hurries, or I can just look at what they call key rushes. So I can do that. If he's a cover guy, you can basically see balls thrown at him and how he covers. So that does speed the process up. So from a talent standpoint, you know, you're going to look at that pretty quickly, get an evaluation, and you always try to be flexible in your system, meaning I don't like to pigeonhole myself to say this guy can only do this.
Right.
So it's like, what kind of flexibility does the guy give you? And then obviously as the guy comes in, you got to recruit the guy. And so from that standpoint, to your question, it's more about, okay, this is our vision for you. This is how you see you fitting in our defense. This is how we're going to play you. These are the things you do well that can help you. These are the things we're going to work on. This is how we're going to work on them. And you kind of give them a vision for how you want to play them, what their role is, and how you see them competing, you know, for our team next year.
If two guys are equal, Alex, let's do quarterbacks. That's what you're the whisperer of. So, and they're pretty equal. Vid tape, and by the way, PFF's Pro Football Focus, what Coach was talking about. So they break down everything, and you're looking at that, and it's all equal. But you meet a guy, and can you get a feel for a guy than another guy? Maybe it's questions you ask, or just a feeling,
right.
Or is that possible?
Sure. Yeah, I think, you know, obviously you talk about tangible and intangible qualities. You know, tangible obviously being the things that you can measure more easily or you can see. And, you know, I think Coach Grantham hit the nail on the head there that, you know, a lot of these guys that are college guys that are in the portal, you have a larger body of work and it's collegiate. So the level of competition, you know, you have a better idea of what that is as well. So that's the positive. Now, even then, you know, the NFL has all that video, and what do? They still send scouts on the road to see guys in person. They still go to the games. They have a combine. They bring guys in for, you know, workouts. So, you know, you still wish there was one more layer of being able to work a guy out. And some of that is so you can measure some of the tangible things, right, to get true accurate measurements. But then there's that intangible part. So, yeah, to further, you know, answer your question, I think being able to talk to them does help, but, you know, you gather as much information as you can on the intangible part too, because, you know, some people can be pretty, even if you think you got a sixth sense and you read people's instincts, well, they can still fool you, right? So,
sure,
you know, you try to talk to their coaches, you know, and then you got to gauge, are their coaches, you know, if they're trying to sell them, right? If they're trying to recruit them back to the school, you may not get the full picture. So you got to figure that out. So you got to find good sources of information, whether that's high school, you know, the college coaches, or maybe people that were on the staff, you know, to gather some intangible information. And the next part is, yes, your interactions with them on the phone and in person. And obviously when you're in person, you know, you get more things to read. You get body language, you get tone of, you know, you get to facial expressions, you know, so on and so forth. So there's more information there. And so, yeah, a lot of times those things can be the tiebreakers when everything else is close to being equal. And I think the other part too is, you know, you asked about what kind of questions you ask. You know, through the years, you know, you always do after action on, hey, you know, why didn't a guy play for us? And, you know, you don't have to be Albert Einstein, but, you know, learning, you know, love for the game or passion for the game, you know, comes up a lot. And so that is something you want to talk football a little bit too and see how they handle that information as well.
So I want to ask you this, then we'll get into players and UAB specific. But with the recent success of Indiana, has looking into a guy's heart, you know, all the corny things that we think of, is that making a comeback? Or is that just a unique circumstance? Or do you guys still look for a player that maybe has that?
I mean, you're always looking for intangibles because that helps your team. You know, it makes your room better. That makes your team better. You know, I looked at Indiana in the offseason. It's really a perfect storm, though, the way that happened. Because what happened is they took a guy from JMU, okay, that really took the 13 best players on his team, and he went to Indiana. And Indiana was not bad before he got there, meaning they had went to a bowl game 2 years before that. So they had some decent players. So what happened is there's roughly 12 to 14 guys there. Those are kind of your core guys, okay? And from a cost standpoint, the guys coming from JMU did not cost a lot. And they were older guys. If you look, they're all older guys. So you were able to get roughly 25 to 26 guys that are your core players, okay? Which is no different than the National Football League. Like when you look at an NFL team, you can't pay everybody. So once you pay, say, Patrick Mahomes, his salary, well, where's that money coming from? So we used to color dot guys from the standpoint of, let's say that an elite player like Patrick is a red dot, okay?
Right.
Well, then you have green dots that are really good players and are starters, and then you have yellow dots that are kind of like, rotational backup, and then gray dots are like, situational, probably not good enough, but you feel them, right? Well, if you have a red dot, you're going to end up having some of those lower level players to fill your team out because you have a salary cap. So my point is with Indiana, they were able to collect roughly 25 to 27 older guys, okay, that were really their core guys and they're good football players, and combine them, and then they went out and were able to get a quarterback, they were able to get a couple defensive linemen, a skill guy, so they went out and get the right difference maker kind of guys.
Right.
So I personally think that's a perfect storm situation, the way that one happened. And, we'll see if it can happen from then on. But I do think character and all that stuff is important, but also those guys are very mature. I mean, if
I think they average 23 and a half,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, they're actually only 2 years younger than the Green Bay Packers.
Right,
I mean,
yes.
Green Bay, I think, is 25 years old,
right,
and they're 23. So the maturity thing is definitely something that's important.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the intangible thing has always been important, as you're trying to evaluate guys. But I think the other part that does become challenging in college is we're not drafting. So like you're going to evaluate players and then you're going to rank them, but then you've got to go recruit them. And there's that component of like Coach talked about a minute ago, selling your program, selling your vision for them. And so sometimes, you might want the guy that's got higher intangibles, but you may not always get them. Because of how you got them ranked. So yeah, a lot of times you're trying to prioritize that, but we're not in the business of drafting either.
Right, and there is a difference, obviously. Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about some of these guys. You got 36, I see. I think the actual number is 41. That's basically close to half a team, if not half a team right now. That's normal, right? I mean, people may be shocked at that, but I don't know what the number was last year, but is that normal now?
It's close. It's
right?
Close to normal. I think if the abnormal part of maybe what we went through, or closer to abnormal, is because of where we got hired. Kind of in that December area, we weren't able to maybe get as large of a high school class as you typically would. Right. So it made these 2 weeks more chaotic. Because some of the spots to fill wasn't just players exiting our team via graduation or them going to the portal. Or I suppose it was that, but had we, signed, say, a high school class of, say, 20, or 18 or whatever.
Normal.
Yeah. Now you're not having to do quite as much of this.
Right. And you still want to do that, right? Your philosophy right now is...
Yeah, we do. I mean, obviously we're not going to pigeonhole ourselves, but we would think in a year from now, like, we're going to hit the state hard and hit the 5-hour radius really hard in recruiting and beyond. And then we would hope to be a little bit further ahead this time, say when we get to the December signing day and take more of those guys. That's the idea.
All right, so we've got guys, just to give people an idea of the list, you got guys from like Itawamba Community College, Barrett Maddox. Then you got a guy like you got the last couple of days from Georgia, the running back, Rod Robinson. You got some Memphis, Marshalls, Oklahoma. There's a lot of picking from various different football backgrounds here.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just really, and a lot of them, some of them, it's like sight unseen. You just recruit them, you evaluate them, and get going. And then some of them, there's a relationship. Like Rod Robinson, knew our running back coach, Danny Mitchell. Mm-hmm. So you could kind of go through some of them, and there is some background somewhere. But some of those guys like KJ Daniels, may not be, even though he's leaving Oklahoma. He's from Louisiana, so this is kind of close to home, relatively speaking. So there are a lot of factors that go into how you end up getting guys here.
Yeah. I saw 3 defensive guys from Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
that's
so
obviously
Jatavian Pierce, Joe P. from this area. He was a guy that originally was committed to Tulane, and Oklahoma State, the previous staff there before I got there, actually went in late and signed him. So I was around him the whole year, from August on, and just, I love the kid. Like, he has no tape other than his high school tape.
Right.
But I knew about the kid, knew what he was like, knew his motivation. And then interesting with him is he was the kind of kid that, hey, went all the way to Oklahoma, and it was important to get back home, close to home. So, like, he's an hour and a half away. So that was really in our favor. So when this opportunity came about and we were able to get him, I mean, he was excited.
Yeah.
And that's just an example of a relationship. And another guy that doesn't necessarily show up on PFF because he has reps, because he didn't play last year. He's redshirted. So you kind of got to look at his high school tape. But then I got to see him in practice.
That's what I was going to say. You've got that.
I got to see him, and I got to know him. Like you're talking about, the character, motivation, work ethic, his drive, all those kind of things. And he's certainly a guy we'd want in our program. So it kind of, worked out well for us.
So that helps bring credibility to you when you start your message to your defense. You've got 3 guys, 2 defensive backs and a linebacker, that already know that message and liked it enough to go, all right, I'm following you.
Correct.
To UAB. Correct. So there's credibility there, I guess.
Yeah, I think that all guys are looking for is, what's your vision for me? What's your plan? What's my role within your defense? And how are you going to develop me? Because every kid wants to play in the National Football League. Now, we all know that actually is less than single digits from happening percentage-wise, because it's very difficult. But if you're in a system that you feel like can enhance your development and improve your assets, because every player has assets and liabilities, and we always want to focus on, creating as much value as we can in the player.
Right.
And by being able to do that, and knowing the system and understanding what their role and their vision is, I think it made it exciting for them to come here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a good thing.
So this list, again, vast. I have 36 names. It's 41 per Athletics and Josh and those guys. So I don't want to ask you, okay, what about Todd Smith or Mark Johnson? Give me the overall view of this list from your perspective, what you got. Did you focus on 2 or 3 positions? Did you take what you could get and just get the best football players, or how did you approach it?
Yeah, in terms of positions, I mean, we really, have a target number, plus or minus, what we're trying to get. So in terms of how we recruited the position, hey, we need X amount of running backs, we're going to take X amount. If we need 3, we're going to try to take 3 plus or minus, right? So, that kind of dictates the numbers. In terms of what we got, here's where, if you look at, and I'm kind of speaking a little bit on offense right now, but where I think we did a lot of these rooms this way is, say, some of the room, maybe the majority of the room that we got, these guys are guys that have collegiate production, somewhere. And then you got, like, you fill the rest of it, or we fill the rest of it with guys we feel like maybe they don't have collegiate production yet, but they're high ceiling guys. And we feel like maybe we can help them capture lightning in a bottle, or help develop them, or help them, we feel like their best days are still ahead of them. So there's a little bit of a balance there where we didn't swing the pendulum, completely one direction or the other, where it was like only guys with production or only guys that, have high potential but no production. So that's from 10,000 feet. That's one of the things we kind of did.
You didn't get a quarterback, and I know you love Riley, and I'm not pigeonholing you that he's the guy perfectly, but you did not get a quarterback. So talk about that decision.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously we have Ryder Burton. Nate Rogers, Adrian Posse, Cam Jennings on the roster. And so, the one thing that is a little bit of a challenge right now is the roster's gone down to 105. I thought one of the best things we did, with Coach Saban at Alabama is we had what we called 2-spot practice, but you always had 2 fields running simultaneously in spring ball and camp. And therefore 4 teams. The 1s and 3s are going at one time, the 2s and 4s are going simultaneously. That allowed you to rep a lot of quarterbacks.
Sure.
And so, that does become a little bit more of a challenge. So it's not de-emphasizing the quarterback position. It's an incredibly important position, but we like the guys we have. And this is also going to give them an opportunity to go through spring and develop and get further evaluated.
Yeah, you've seen Ryder Burton's success with UAB, so and his. If you've watched the Inferno pod at all, his affections for you. I do notice 8, 9, 10 defensive backs on this list, and several defensive linemen. We know that defense was a major trouble spot for this team. Yeah,
so we had to sign a lot of guys, number one, right? And the way it kind of fell was we ended up getting a lot of DB, corner, safeties type early. Obviously, we're looking for guys that had length, position flexibility, meaning maybe a safety can play a corner can play safety, to give you some of that flexibility. And truthfully, maybe a safety can play linebacker as they grow and that kind of thing. So that kind of just fell into play with those guys. And then up front, same kind of deal, looking for, you do have to have size, because size does matter. Okay, like Coach Saban always used to say, if it didn't matter, they wouldn't have weight classifications in boxing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we ended up with some guys with some length and some size to give you some stoutness. But again, it was trying to get guys that had snaps. So it was a little bit of both, meaning, solid core guys. Like at linebacker, for example, what we're looking at is Mike linebackers. Both between them, they had 1,200 snaps the last 2 years. So 600 snaps a year. So that gives you some consistent production there. And then you're always looking for the talented guys. So really it came down to a combination of what guys that could affect the game, whether it be stoutness inside or ability to rush the edge, and then guys that had some productivity, and consistent snaps, meaning they were playing 500 to 600 snaps in a year, and a couple of them played them more than just 1 year. So I think that ends up being important too. So because of the number we had to sign, we were probably casting a bigger net.
Right.
And then as we dwindled it down at the end there, we ended up taking a couple guys that I felt like would be consistent players for us, to give us that consistent productivity and those kind of things. So, the challenge now is basically going to be getting these guys here and then letting us come together as a team. That's the big thing, is bonding these guys together.
And obviously that means spring practice is going to be huge. It's always huge, really huge this year. So we should have started here, but tell me how this happened. I know the relationship in the background, but how do you make the call? He has a perfect storm. First year at Oklahoma State, they have a coaching change. Things happen. He's available, which is amazing. So talk about this deal.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really excited to have Coach Grantham here. I'm really, really fired up, and I think a lot of people are. So, we worked together in 2022, and prior to that, I've had to coach against him before, which is, I can tell you firsthand, is a challenge. He's tough to get ready for. He's tough to play against multiple times, and I could give you several examples of that. But we'd worked together in 2022 and had a really good experience, in the same building, and then once we kind of I figured out that maybe he would have interest in the job. We spoke and had a great conversation and kind of went through the process from there. And he's got a great reputation. Obviously, like I've known him, but of course, a lot of people in the profession really, have a lot of respect for him. But it's not just the coaches. It's, you talk to other guys that have played for him too. Players have connected with him and, like playing for him, feel like they grow and develop and learn. And, he runs a system that, look, we do want to help our guys. Yeah, it is a small percentage of guys that make it to the NFL, but we want this to be a program that helps them develop in that capacity. Sure. And so we want a system that reflects the NFL. And Todd's obviously been at that level multiple times too. So I think that's another big plus. And then Coach Saban told me to hire him too. So I hopefully he didn't get mad at me for sharing that. But no, anyway, we're really, really excited to have him here.
All right, so you didn't have to work financially.
Correct.
But I know it's in your blood, so why take this deal?
Well, so first of all, you can only fish and golf so much, right? I'm 59 years old. I'm not old, I'm young. At my point in my career, I'm going to choose where I work, and I love the South. Birmingham's a great city. My house is only 3 hours from here. My daughter's an hour away, going to be in grad school. So from a family perspective, just being able to have that part of it was really important to me. And I like change. Like, if you look at the history I've always been, like, the good jobs usually don't come open. So when you take a job, sometimes it's to make a change. And if you went back and looked at Georgia and Mississippi State and Florida, we were able to turn it pretty quick. And that's what we expect to do here. So that part of it excites me, being able to come in and be a part of taking something and making it good and making it something that the community and the fan base is proud of. So that stuff I enjoy. And I would much rather be a college coach than, say, in pro football. And then you say, well, why is that? For example, when you're in pro football, you have a personnel department and then you have a coaching department. So, for example, with our players, let's say there's a guy that I really like, and I want him to be a part of our team, and I see a vision for him. Well, if the personnel side doesn't see it that way, his grade isn't as high. And generally speaking, you don't get that player. So a lot of times the personnel department in pro football will choose the players they feel is best for the organization.
Right.
Which I do think helps you as a coach expand your coaching, because you got to figure out how to make it work with what you have. But by the same token, I don't think you have as much freedom in pro ball as you do in college to put the pieces together that you want to make your team. And that's really what I want to do. I want to be able to select the players that I'd like to coach and to build a team to the vision that we have, and to give our community and our fan base something to be proud of. So that's what we're going to work towards.
So tell me a little bit your philosophy without breaking down PFF film. I mean, these days you got to have a hybrid guy. Nickels become kind of base, right?
Yeah.
You've got guys showing 2 deep. They may roll into 3 deep, and the safety comes up and it supports the run. And there's all kind of disguises and stuff. What do you do? What do you think's effective?
Well, first of all, it gets down to having discipline, accountability, and toughness within your program, okay? Because you got to have that. And then after that, we always talk about playing fast, physical, and aggressive. Because, a lot of times it's not what you call or what you do, it's how you do it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the philosophy that you got to have. I mean, I can remember when I was in Dallas and we had DeMarcus Ware, and we run a blitz away from DeMarcus, and we're overloaded that way, and they had motion to tight end, so they had numbers on us. And DeMarcus sets the edge, strings out the toss, and it's a 2-yard gain. So like the worst play that could happen was 2 yards. You know what I'm saying? So obviously there's a player element involved in that, right? But I think the biggest thing is getting guys that are motivated, hungry, that want to be where their feet are, bringing them together, because football nowadays is about trust. Players trusting in you, believing in you, but they got to trust the guys next to them, because they don't really know those guys right now, because you got to take care of your job. And if everybody just takes care of their job, whatever you call is going to be fine.
Right.
So it really gets down to playing fast, physical, and aggressive, and just understanding your fit within what we're doing, and then go play. And then it's about playing the next play, because look, offense, they're on scholarship, they get paid too. So if they make a play, you make the next one. So I think that mentality has to be set early. And rather than getting into the scheme thing, I think it's more about how we play it, and getting into the relationship of coach to player, player to coach, and player to player.
Yeah.
So you believe in each other, so you'll go play, because belief is a powerful thing, in my opinion, that if you believe in something, you're going to strain a little bit more to get it done.
Yeah, and you got to be multiple these days on both sides of the ball. So what did you dislike about facing him?
Yeah. I mean, I think one, look, the first thing he talks about, we talk about style of play, like all the things he talked about, fast, physical, aggressive. Like his team's played hard.
Yeah.
They get after it. So those things come to life on tape. So those things for sure, are challenges. And then from a schematic standpoint, like there was multiplicity on first and second down. There's front multiplicity, and then when you get to third down, he's got a lot of ways to attack protection. So, I think those things create challenges, from a preparation standpoint, because you have to have a really thorough plan for what you're going to see.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting though to get somebody of this ilk. Tell us about the coaching staff right now. Are we done? Are you still looking? You feel good about it? Where are you?
One, we really like the people we have here right now. Feel like obviously Coach Grantham's an awesome addition, and we're still wrapping it up. So we're not quite there, but we like the people we have, and there'll probably be a few more additions in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and you told us a few weeks ago, whenever you were on, you didn't want to feel like you had to be in a hurry,
right?
Like you had to do it, and you seem to be living up to that. Like you're not in a hurry.
No, we're not. I mean, look.
I mean, you are kind of, but you wanted to hire the right guys.
You wish everything was done yesterday. I mean, it's just, but you don't want to. You don't want to speed it up and then be wrong on something. And I think the key is we got, having a strong defensive coordinator in here, and having the people we have had in has allowed us to go through this portal period effectively. And then the rest of it will round out as we need to.
All right, before we go in the lightning round, have a little fun to wrap up this part of the show. You first, then Todd. What do you want to accomplish as of today? I know it can change. Going into spring training on an overall view without going position by position?
Right. Yeah. Overall view, if I'm going to talk really simply, look, I want to help every individual on this team develop in a multitude of areas. And I also want, so that's the individual, and we also want to develop a team. We've got to get, every program is going through this right now. They've got 40-something players that probably got dropped on their campus in the middle of January, and a lot of them don't know each other. So how quick can we come together and get to know each other and create a bond and be a team?
Right.
And then secondly, develop the individuals as football players. And like that's what we love to do. We're going to teach football. And so those are very simply, those are two things that we want to get accomplished. And then, the other part of it too, I guess, for us as a staff is you evaluate your players in the spring. And some of that, that pertains to depth chart and how you want to approach the summer and fall camp. But some of it gets back to, hey, how do we use them? And how do they fit into the scheme? Or does the scheme change or tweak? I think one of the best, things I heard a long time ago was your playbook starts here. You figure out what your players are good at. It's this. You figure out what the quarterback's good at. It's this. And so right now we've got to figure that out quickly. So the evaluation, we evaluate them when we recruited them, but that evaluation process continues when they're on campus.
Oh, absolutely, because you got them every day, like you were talking about with your old Oklahoma State guys.
Yeah.
Defensively, you're obviously focused on that. So what are you looking for?
First of all, it's meeting the whole team. I mean, it's making sure that you introduce yourself to, guys every day, because you'll be walking by people in the hallway and you've never met them before. So you need to meet your teammates.
Hi, I'm Todd, the new defensive coordinator.
I mean, you got to meet people, right? Now, obviously, from a defensive perspective, I'm around those guys a little bit more, so that's going to interact. But even the offensive guys, meeting those guys, because I'm a big relationships guy, and I really do believe that as players believe in you and what you're teaching them, they're going to go the extra mile to learn what to do and how to do it and those kind of things. So relationship is really important for me, and I think that's important to get started with that. And then obviously after that, from an evaluation player standpoint, it's not so much to see if they can play, it's what options do they give us. Meaning like, if you're going to rank your players 1 through 40, right? And let's say the 10th player goes down, well, you'd like to be able to put the 12th player in that you can rank.
Sure.
I don't want to put the 24th player in the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm bypassing a lot of players that we think are really good to put the guy that fits that position. So I think it's like what position flexibility does everybody have? And then how do we build our packages relative to that? And then it's developing the players, because I love this spring because you can coach and you can teach guys and you can develop guys because that does matter. From that standpoint. So really your ability to educate guys, through learning from knowledge, because knowledge is power, and then being able to go on the field and be able to execute techniques and develop fundamentals to allow them to play fast. I mean, that'll be the combination of things that we do, from now through May.
Yeah. It's going to be a very impactful spring, obviously, with Alex running it, Todd running the defense there as well. Let's go to a lightning round just for a couple of minutes. It's kind of a fun time. We learn about you as people and different things. Alex has already done this a little bit. But I guess the first question would be, when he comes to town, and not like you've never been to Birmingham, but do you tell him, okay, you and your family should stay here, here's some restaurants? Well, how do you get it where it's not all football and business, if that's happened?
We got him into a hotel and we started talking players and football immediately. So
you have not done that.
We'll get there.
Maybe we can do it right now. I mean,
we will. No, in all seriousness, like this relationship thing is a big deal to me. I think I said it last time I was on the podcast. I felt like the coaches that had the biggest impact on me, they were relationship oriented, they were great teachers, and they were demanding. But that relationship thing isn't just player to coach, it's coach to coach. So it's important to me. I'm going to give them a scouting report on Birmingham, certainly, but hopefully we're doing some things together too and having some fun together as a staff as well.
All right, so what do you want to eat?
What do I want to eat?
What do you like to eat?
Well, you can tell I like to eat anything, really, to be honest. I'm not a picky guy, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm good with anything. Obviously, I like.
You gotta have a favorite.
I like spice. I like spice. I have been to Papados. I have been to Papados since I've been here. I think that was the only free night I had. So I have been there, but I like Cajun food. I like spice. So that would be number one probably.
Yeah, food's important though, and I'm not just saying this because we're doing the segment, but when you guys are sitting there working, you're not eating. No. You might be sometimes. He might be. Well, Alex is.
Food's important, but getting players is a little bit more important.
Yeah, but you got to have food. I guess food's brought into the place. So how big a decision is that?
I think both of us had a lot of days we did not eat lunch. Yeah. I mean, it was like nibble on a little – because he had he went through it early. I mean, it was like you're either evaluating a player you're recruiting a player via phone, or you're talking to a player that's on campus.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of days looked up at dinner and said, all right, it's time to eat, but we hadn't had anything all day.
I haven't eaten in 3 days.
So,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you like to do away from football? Do you put on music on the drive home or to the hotel right now?
I like to fish. If I can fish, man, I'm happy. So I enjoy that.
Was that part of the recruiting process? Did you know that? Or?
We do now. No, I knew that a little bit. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you know about the fishing in the area? And I know you haven't done it yet, but will you scout out?
I'll scout it out. I mean, at my place, I was fortunate enough to be able to build my own pond with a buddy of mine. So
wow.
I got
So you stocked it?
I got an 18-acre pond that, it's kind of fun to chill out there and do that. Of course, Lake Oconee's there. I can fish that and that kind of thing. But really, anything to do with fishing is something I enjoy to do. So I enjoy that part of it.
So when you want to mentally take a break, will you kind of look at
fishing.
what's hitting and kind of get tips? Or
Well, usually because I've done it all my life, you kind of know by the time of year, the water temperature,
Right.
that spring, all that kind of stuff, fall. I mean,
do I need to go deep?
summer.
Do I need to go shallow?
So you kind of know what's in season and that kind of thing. So I usually use that, and just being out there is great with me. I like to golf too. I'm not as good at that, and the problem with golf is like whatever you shoot, you think you should shot better, but in reality, you're probably lucky to shoot what you shot,
Right.
and everything. So I like to fish. I do like to play golf, but I'm a much better fisherman than I'm a golfer.
Yeah. Will you give him time to fish, Alex? I mean,
We'll-
you're going to be one of those bosses? Or
We'll get through recruiting. We'll have time.
whenever that is.
Yeah.
Right? All right, remind people what you like to do.
I'm pretty simple.
Besides look at film. And,
Yeah, I mean, I am doing what I enjoy. I mean, look, if you look at my notebooks, and unfortunately, even some of my some of the backs of some of the tithing things they give you in church, there are a lot of football plays on those through the year. So I am doing what I love to do.
You're not doing that during the sermon.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Grew out of that, but really, truly, I love football. I really love the game. I love the scheme and the strategy of the game. I like to work out. I haven't done much of
I know,
that.
and you said you were going to try to get better at that.
Yep, that we're delaying that for another 2 weeks. So, but really, since for the last 6 or 7 months, there hasn't been a lot of work now. But that's what I like to do. I really like to work out, and I like to eat. I do like to eat. So those are probably my two favorite things.
It's going to energize you, in the middle of the day if you take a break and go down there and throw some weight around.
That's right.
It's going to make you a better coach.
I think you're right about that. So we're going to carve some time out here before long.
All right. We got to get you some spice restaurants around here and anything. I know family's important to both of you. How do you balance that? I've not asked you this before, and you can go first, Alex. And how you balance family, because especially at this kind of job with everything going on, he's new, you're new, not really new, but new position. How do you try to balance that at home?
Yeah, in all seriousness, going back, I know we were joking about, having time to fish or do other things. Like, this recruiting thing over this portal cycle, there's really no other way than for it to be just, full speed.
Time investment. Yeah.
But we are going to try to have a calendar that's set, months in advance, have, logical office hours. I think coaches are better when they're fresh. I think there's better when you got a little balance. I think when you can get a workout, when you can spend time with family. So, those things are. So I think the time management part, gives way to that, and part of it involves just being efficient, being organized, having a plan, and not wasting time. So, we're gonna do that here, and so that's kind of the deal.
You were talking about that was a big decision on even choosing UAB.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's close to home. I mean, I am about family. I think the biggest thing as a coach, you end up appreciating, quality of time over maybe the amount of time, that you have and everything. And also being able to have a wife that can handle everything so you can go out and do what you love to do from that standpoint, makes it easy for me from that regard. So I just think it's about understanding the allotment of time that you have and making the most of it, and, just enjoying it when you can.
Absolutely. Well, we welcome you to Birmingham and UAB, and Alex, of course, doing a great job here and feeling good about your staff, and we appreciate you guys taking a little bit of a break. I know you could have got a workout in, but you got some information here on the podcast, so thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, Alex Mortensen, Todd Grantham, head coach, defensive coordinator for the Blazers. We'll take a break, come back with more here on the Inferno Podcast.
The if in life. It's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends. If you can keep an eye on your money along the way. If you know you have overdraft protection with no fee transfers from savings. When you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank, embrace the if in life.
Welcome back to the Inferno Podcast. This week in Blazer Nation, brought to you by Children's of Alabama. A lot to talk about here. You got baseball coming up. That'll be starting in about 3 weeks from now. They'll start on the road at Florida. Got some injury issues going on right now. But again, beginning of the season, anything can happen. And I know Casey Dunn is working with those guys as hard as you can. UAB softball also starts in a couple of weeks as well. They'll start at the Southern Miss Tournament too. So, some of the things happening this week in Blazer Nation as far as a lot of the sports going on. So some of the spring sports still trying to get their legs as they start their seasons as well. So great podcast. We appreciate Alex Mortensen and Todd Grantham being on and trying to get ingratiated with the transfer portal and what this UAB football team will look like this year. We hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time, Scott Griffin saying so long here on the Inferno Podcast.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.